Have you had any pushback from neighbors about like 8 units on their formerly one house lot?
100%. Like this is the thing that Edmonton and Calgary and every city across North America is facing is like, we were
Yeah.
traditionally single family homes and now we're putting in, 8 units as of right. And so it definitely has been controversial. There's like a fine balance. So we've seen really great examples where 8 units kind of seamlessly integrate into these communities. You have to realize like people think the context of these communities are wartime bungalows, but they're not because they've always been evolving. So there's semi-detached homes. There's like huge single family homes that are 3 stories that look like they could be 8 units. And so we've seen some really interesting like contexts where they fit and they fit in a way that has made sense. I would just say to you that like the reason why middle like has really taken this solution that we have to be homeowner centric is because we understand that like there's homeowners in community that feel like this is happening to them, not for them or with them. And we like as a developer, I realized that was the case because it's not like I was sitting here overly concerned about what was happening in their community because you have a million other things that you're concerned about. Like, are you going to be able to build on cost, on time, on budget? What is the cost implications if you don't or you miss? And so I would just say like all of those things are really, really critical. And it's not as simple as just saying like, oh, we're just concerned about the community engagement piece. So yeah, it is no question a challenge. And this is like a really good example for folks who get, really concerned about like, what does this look like? So from the street, this looks like, a duplex next to, a single family home in Infill, but it's actually 6 units because it's got 2 secondary suites and it's got 2 laneways. And so this is 6 units on what was typically a single family home.
What size lot is that? Is that like a 120 by?
Yeah, 50 foot frontage. Yeah, so 6,000 square feet with a lane loaded kind of backyard. That is one of the pre-approved plans that we're working on right now with the city of Calgary, city of Edmonton to kind of make it so those things could get built as of right. Community concerns are valid in our mind, and there's a lot of things we can do to help mitigate them. And I think one of the biggest challenges we're having is that when examples don't land strong, like when you have examples that are landing poorly in community, it's really challenging. And so how do we figure out a way to create better built forms that land in community? And one of the ways we think we can do that is by working with, the city, the community, and honestly, at times even higher caliber designers of architects who can't make it feasible to work on 150 by 120, but can potentially make it work to work on one that could be replicated in many different communities. I'm going to pull up the GIS tool too, even though it's in beta, just for you guys to take a peek at here as well. So this is the map. This is in Calgary. You type in an address. It'll tell you kind of a bunch of details about the actual, address that you see. And then obviously, you can look at the context of what's around there. And so here's an example of like, you're on a corner site. One of the best use cases on a corner site is what we call a 4x4. So you see the rendering. This is done by an architect group called FAS. And so, it shows you what it could look like. And then, maybe not as conducive for a mid-block configuration, but this is what a mid-block configuration. And I would say like a lot of these are no's, but they could be yeses. I just wanted to kind of show you high level what the site is kind of looking like and how we're doing it.
That's pretty cool. It just says this will work, these two won't. That's pretty cool.
That is very cool.
What normally would happen here is like you would have realtor.ca linked. And so now it would highlight whatever ones that were listed in that community now would be on here. And it would tell you whether or not it was a green or red. And you could click on that.
That's awesome. So I guess basically like once this is up and running, like, is it primarily built for investors then to look for active listings and then what's a possibility to build on that?
I would say it's built for like all 3. If you think about like the 3 customers that we tend to interface a lot with is like government, municipalities, like what do they know is possible on the lands that they have? How do they create better systems and processes so that everyone in community knows what's possible? Because one of the challenges we have is like when you have someone that's unsophisticated doing this for the first time, submitting applications and then getting kicked back and delayed, it's problematic for everybody. Cities don't make more money when you have bad applicants, right? Because they pay the same price. It's not like you pay less if you're a shitty applicant and you have to resubmit your plans 14 times and you have to talk to the planner 30 times. Like that's actually cumbersome for the municipalities. And so how do we streamline processes for municipalities and get to better outcomes? the citizen often don't know what they can do, and neither does the realtor, quite frankly, at times, because they're not development experts. So
shots fired.
yeah, no, like, I mean, it's not a bad thing, but it's a good thing. It's like, how do we get the realtor? We see realtors coming to all of our programming, and I love like having conversations because they recognize that not only is this important for them to understand their markets, it's important for their clients. So we've had realtors now that send their clients to us before they decide whether or not they want to sell, buy, develop, because I think the thing that I love most about realtors now is like a lot of them are not short-sighted. They're not just looking for a one-time commission. They recognize like that referral, that word of mouth, that maybe this guy will go on to buy 3, or this woman will go on to buy 2 or 4, or they'll become a developer and I'll be the person that sells those products or helps them buy them. So they have this like desire to learn more. And I think like that is the gap that we're filling, is like, I didn't know where we would have went back in the day when we did this. We just learned by mistakes. And I think we have so much information and we have a process. And now we're leveraging technology to make it easier for more people to understand what the opportunities are.